Duelist, what if I told you there was a brand new format coming to the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game that involved no forbidden and limited list, completely customizable rules that your official tournament store can set, access to previously forbidden cards, right, since there's no list after all, and some other interesting surprises that may delight some duelists and are going to have some deck builders scratching their head on what to do next. Welcome, my friends, to Genesys. This is a brand new format for the game that involves a couple of rules that you'll have to wrap your head around. But once you do, oh my goodness, creativity the likes of which we have never seen before. This is not a drill. I got to beta test a brand new format for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Trading card game. This is specifically a format that is so customizable. We've never had anything like this. So let's start with the rules. First, there are no link monsters and there are no pendulum monsters in Genesys format. So if you weren't a fan of those, that's okay. And if you love those, well, unfortunately, there isn't going to be any link monsters or pendulum monsters, but it doesn't mean you can't play the decks that support it, like Malice, for instance. Okay, so what are the rules? Of course, you still make your 40 card minimum deck, and of course you use 3 maximum of any card, but there's a new point value system. Let's say, for instance, that a tournament was set to 100 points. And you're probably like, Pharaoh, what is 100 points? Well, different cards have different values. For instance, great example, one of my favorite cards, and you can start to drone now, Mystic Mine is 100 points. So, if I use Mystic Mine, I've used up my entire point value. It's almost like packing a suitcase where, you can try to fit in as much as you can, but at a certain point, there's just no more give to that suitcase. That's kind of what Genesys format is like, because certainly you can use powerful cards, but we'll go through a couple of examples to make sense of it all, and we'll also provide some cool deck lists so that you know exactly how to get started, and you're not just scattered thinking, oh my goodness, this is way too much information. So, starting today, September 22nd, your official tournament store can run Genesys format tournaments. So you might want to send them this video so they understand what's going on. If you're worried about somebody not following the rules and not using the exact point amount that your official tournament store can set, doesn't have to be 100 points, it could be 2,000 points. Well, there's a new website that we'll be going through in this video that will create a deck list, and it'll show that your deck is precisely coloring in those lines. Let's go ahead and actually showcase how the Genesys format works by pulling up the website here. This is going to be the new deck building website. I am already logged in, but we are going to go ahead and go to the card list page. This is a great starting point because it lets you see all of the different point values. Things like Abyss Dweller, we know how powerful Abyss Dweller is. That's going to be 100 points. But there are other cards like Albion, the Sanctifier Dragon. Notice it's at 33. That is a wildly different number, but it allows for you to use, maybe multiple copies of it. And then if you use 3 cards with 33, you still have 1 point left over if you're playing against a 100-point duelist. So as we look through here, you'll see plenty of interesting cards here. Again, there are, easiest way to do it, by the way, as far as I'm concerned, hit 100, and there should be about 5 pages here. And you'll see some fan favorites like Dark Hole, that's only 3 points. Delinquent Duo, amazing card, 100 points. That's a big one for sure. There's also other great ones locked in here, but you also see there's some stuff that's just 1, right? Dynamorphia Intact, 1 point. Did I just see something at 90 something? I swear I did. There are a lot of different values here, so you definitely need to do a little bit of studying to figure out what works and what doesn't, but at the same point, you're really just trying to make sure that the values fit for your deck. Why don't we go ahead and build a deck, and remember, all of the Rivalry of Warlord decks are actually compatible with the Genesys system, so if you're not sure where to start, you can always pull up one of those, and I'll make sure to have those in the description of the video so that you've got access to be like, okay, that's a great starting point. So we are going to go to My Deck Lists, and we're going to make a new deck list here. All right, so as you can see, I just have to type in the search bar here, Artmage, the deck we're going to be building. You can use the text results where you can see the individual points, but you can also see the points on the image results as well. All you got to to do is click the images to add the cards in one at a time, or you can select multiples at once and it'll jam on in there. You know you've succeeded when you get that green success message, and the same thing will happen here when you go ahead and click the number of cards you want to add in for multiples at a time. Once you're done, you can see the total point value, and as you can see, we haven't used any points yet because most cards in the game actually don't have a point value. It's only at the end that you'll have to decide, well, I haven't used any points, maybe I need to add in some power cards, or maybe just leave it as is and enjoy your format the way you want to. So here is a great example. We're taking a look at an Eldritch the Golden Lord deck, and if you notice, it's mostly 0 points, but the Nibiru the Primal Being is going to take up 10 points. The Black Goat Laughs, great trap card, is going to take up 10 points as well, and then 80 points is used up by Card of Safe Return at 40 points each. However, that's a great use of points because, you know, in a zombie deck, oh my goodness, you're going to be special something from the graveyard all the time. So watch out, you're the next strings by using this deck. So taking a look at some of the other decks we have, here is a 100-point Shark deck. And you'll notice the 15 points are used on the Water Enchantress of the Temple at 5 points each. You'll also see Rite of Aramasir is also at 5 points each. And then Dominus Impulse taking 30 points, but that works, right? It's a very strong, just good, workable deck, and you don't use any of your points up in the extra deck, you're just using it for power cards. So as you can see, building a deck is just as easy as searching your favorite card names, maybe clicking through them, or again, there is that image results that allows you to see your favorite cards and click them from there. Here's another thing, when you click away, it actually continues to save your deck, so there is no save button, you just actually go back in and you can find that deck right here, which means if you go to card search and you're looking for a keyword, let's take a look at Max C, you actually can add that to the deck and it'll ask you which deck you want to add it to. You can go ahead and click 3 copies and we'll go ahead and put that in our new deck list that we made right now. So it actually adds it. You'll see the message at the bottom of the screen. We go back to our deck list, we click edit our deck, and there it is. Once the site is live, you'll also be able to go ahead and hit the download deck list button, and it actually gives you a fully printed out PDF of your decks. This is a great way to just generate that deck list, be able to turn that into your official tournament store and know you did it the right way. Your deck is Genesys compliant. So now you know how it works. Now you know how it plays. Let's talk about some questions you as a duelist might have and why I think, again, this is the cure for the common duel. Now, no shade on any particular duelist, but I know I've heard at least one of you say one of these things before. First off, I don't like Link and Pendulum monsters. Good news, duelists. Again, they are not allowed in the Genesys format, so if you're a fan of Link and Pendulum monsters like me, again, it's unfortunate, but it just means there's more room to explore creatively, and it means that you don't have to worry about the balance of the game because many of the ways that Genesys format works aren't going to feel like the advanced format. It almost feels like a completely different game played with the same cards, and that's honestly a breath of fresh air for duelists who have really grounded out on Master Duel, Duel Links, and in the TCG format if they're looking for something new. Alright, anime duelists, I know who you are because I'm one of you too, and you're probably worried, okay, my deck can't compete, right? I'm trying to use the Blue Eyes White Dragon. Well, maybe you need a little bit of a news update because Blue Eyes White Dragon is doing really strong, but the general sentiment is there. You're worried that you don't want to have to collect new cards, you just want to use your favorite cards, but you're worried your favorite cards may not be able to perform. Well, because the game is so well balanced with the point system, you know that your opponent's going to be running a deck just as proportionately strong as you are. If they have access to 200 points, you have access to 200 points. If they have access to only 0 points, you both have access to 0 points, so you know that the power scaling of these decks is going to be about the same. So this is a great way to sort of dust off a deck if you haven't played it in a while. Maybe it's a pet deck, a rogue deck that didn't do well in your last tournament, or it's a deck that you were never able to get off the ground because you were so nervous about what the opponent might have. Worry not, duelist, this is your time to shine. Perhaps you're a master deck builder that's worried about certain cards entering into the format. Well, again, you can even set the point limit to 0 for maximum creativity, so you don't have to worry about you coming up with a brand new, interesting deck idea and your opponent using all of their points on Delinquent Duo to thwart your plans before they even happen. Again, it's community driven, and that's really exciting because we're duelists, we're loud, we love to show off all the cool things that we've researched behind the scenes, and this is a masterclass. This is like the Duel Academy final exam. I can't wait to see everyone's PhD in dueling pay off, and well, the only way to find out again is by jumping in. We also have a couple of things to talk about, like the cool upcoming public events, and those are going to be at upcoming YCSs, like YCS Sao Paulo, YCS Anaheim, YCS Pittsburgh. There are a lot of cool stuff, and get this, there's going to be a Genesys YCS. There's going to be a Genesys YCS. Let's talk about that YCS. Think of it as the greatest Duel Academy assignment ever written, because unlike other formats where you can come in kind of knowing what cards to expect and what cards to include in your sign deck, Genesys is an incredible deck building assignment because you have to come up with your own unique idea, and then you still have to make the side deck color within those same lines. You've got to actually meet that same point limit. So between all of the cards you have access to, the fact that there's really a lot of creativity here, you've got to figure out how to build a deck that doesn't include Link monsters, doesn't include Pendulum monsters, but also meets the point limit within your side deck. And how are you supposed to predict what other people are going to play? You know those deck profiles you see online, or those combo videos where you're like, there's no way that would ever happen in a million years? Genesys technically lets you build decks that are those combo videos, and then you've got to run it through the rigmarole of either a 16-player flight, or that invitational we talked about on day 2, or of course, the upcoming Genesys YCS. You know I love watching duels, but I'm really excited to see the greatest deck building minds of our time have almost unlimited creativity and freedom in order to build whatever weird deck they're going to come up with. And it may not be weird. Weird may not be the right word for it, but it's definitely going to be something that individually speaks to who they are as a duelist, and then we're all just going to get to see the craziest ride of our life as two duelists with the same philosophy clash against each other. Or hey, two duelists that don't have the same philosophy. There might be duelists out there that's just like, I'm going to play my deck and add Delinquent Duo. Good on you, duelists. So, the Genesys YCS is going to be a great time once we get to see it. Don't mind me, duelists. I'm going to just start sorting through the card collection here in order to figure out which new Genesys decks I'm going to build. I'm going to try to keep a 100-point Genesys deck on me at all times. So if you happen to have a deck, well, you know exactly what time it is, and feel free to challenge me because, man, this format is going to be all right. Until then, we'll see you in the next one.